When Manchester United appointed Ruben Amorim as their head coach, there was a mixture of excitement and doubt. Excitement because Amorim was seen as one of Europe's brightest young tacticians, a manager who had taken Sporting Lisbon to domestic success with a modern, structured style of football. Doubt because the Premier League is a different challenge altogether, a league where tactical ideas are tested by pace, intensity, and relentless scrutiny. For United, a club desperate to rediscover its identity and restore consistency after years of turbulence, Amorim represented both a bold gamble and a potential fresh beginning. His first 4 Premier League games this season have already painted a picture of what his Manchester United might look like, but also revealed the uphill battle he faces. In his very first match, a trip to Arsenal, Amorim immediately imposed his preferred system, deploying a back 3 with wing-backs providing width and a midfield double pivot designed to keep possession ticking. United were organized and compact in the early stages, and at times they managed to frustrate Arsenal, forcing them to play around the shape. But as the game wore on, the flaws of a new system were exposed. The wing-backs often pushed too high, leaving gaps that Arsenal's midfield and forwards could exploit. United lacked fluidity in transitions, and when pressed, their build-up play sometimes broke down. The game ended in a narrow 1-0 defeat, and while it was not a disastrous performance, it showed how much work was needed for Amorim's ideas to take root in a squad still learning his demands. The second game, at home to Fulham, offered more glimpses of progress. United pressed higher, attempted to dominate the ball, and created several good chances through quick vertical passes and overlaps from the wide areas. Bruno Fernandes was pivotal in drifting into spaces to connect play, yet the inconsistency in execution remained. At times, United looked sharp and aggressive, but they struggled to sustain pressure across 90 minutes. Fulham found gaps, especially when United's midfield was caught out of position, and the match finished 1-1. It was a result that left fans frustrated, because the promise of Amorim's style was evident, but so too were the defensive lapses and lack of control that have haunted United in recent years. It was in the third game against Burnley that Amorim finally celebrated his first Premier League win. Though it was far from straightforward, United attacked with greater intent. The wing-backs pushed on relentlessly, and their vertical approach paid off as they scored 3 goals. Bruno Fernandes enjoyed more freedom to create, and there were moments when Amorim's sporting blueprint seemed to come alive at Old Trafford. But Burnley, a side expected to tilted too heavily toward risk. The 3-2 victory was a relief, but it also showed that Amorim's United could be thrilling in attack yet fragile in defense. Then came the first true test of his reign, the Manchester derby against Pep Guardiola's City. For Amorim, this was a chance to measure his new project against the best. United again lined up with a back 3, looking to press high and hit City on transitions. For the opening minutes, there were signs of intent, but City quickly exposed the flaws in the system. Their midfield rotations overwhelmed United's double pivot, their wingers pinned back the wing-backs, and once City took control, United had no answer. The match ended in a humbling 3-0 defeat, a stark reminder of the gulf in quality and cohesion between Amorim's embryonic side and an established machine like City. For many fans, the derby was less about the scoreline and more about the lack of adaptability. United stuck rigidly to Amorim's plan, but when it was clear City were exploiting the spaces, there seemed to be no tactical shift to stem the tide. Across these 4 games, the pattern has become clear. Amorim wants United to play with a structured, modern identity. His reliance on a back 3 and wing-backs is central to stretching the pitch and creating overloads. He wants pressing to be collective, transitions to be sharp, and his midfielders to dictate play with both control and energy. Offensively, Fernandes' creativity aligning with Amorim's emphasis on vertical play. Yet defensively, the team remains vulnerable. The spaces left behind when wing-backs advance, the difficulty in coping with transitions, and the occasional lack of compactness between midfield and defense have cost United dearly. The bigger question is whether Amorim can succeed at Old Trafford in the long run. On one hand, his philosophy is clear, his ideas are progressive, and his calm but demanding management style could resonate with a young squad. He has already increased the intensity of training, introduced stricter positional drills, and shown a willingness to trust younger players, something United fans appreciate as part of the club's DNA. On the other hand, the Premier League is unforgiving. United's start to the season, with just 4 points from 4 games, is statistically their worst since the early 90s, and the pressure from fans and media is already mounting. Success for Amorim will depend on several factors. He must adapt his tactics when necessary, adding flexibility to avoid being predictable against stronger opponents. He must improve defensive transitions, ensuring his wingbacks and midfield pivots cover space more intelligently. He must also get consistent performances from key players while integrating new signings who suit his system, and most importantly, he needs patience from the board and the supporters. At Manchester United, time is rarely given, and 1 or 2 bad results can turn optimism into crisis overnight. The probability of Amorim restoring United to glory is still an open question. There is a genuine chance he could succeed if the squad buys into his philosophy, if tactical adjustments are made, and if patience allows him to build. But there is also the real risk of failure if the defensive weaknesses persist, if the pressure of Old Trafford proves too heavy, and if results against big rivals continue to disappoint. What we know for certain is that his United will not be boring. Win or lose, Amorim's reign promises to be full of bold ideas, tactical battles, and a narrative that will keep fans and critics alike glued to every game. For now, Ruben Amorim's Manchester United remains a project in its infancy. The early signs are a blend of promise and fragility, hope and uncertainty. Whether he can turn those foundations into lasting success, or whether he will become another name on the long list of managers who tried and failed at Old Trafford, in the months to come, every decision he makes, every substitution, every tactical tweak will be magnified under the world's brightest spotlight. If he succeeds, he will not only revive a fallen giant, but also cement his place as one of football's most visionary young coaches. If he fails, his name will join a list of managers who came with hope and left with regret. For now, the story remains unwritten, the outcome uncertain. But one truth is undeniable. Ruben Amorim has begun a journey that could define both his career and Manchester United's future. And in football, as in life, sometimes the line between triumph and tragedy is no more than a single result away.